Good morning, children. A big hello to you all. Now, children, we have already completed 2 chapters of your class 9 half yearly examination syllabus, and we have come to the third chapter. The third chapter is drainage. Now, as per the guidelines of CBSE, we have to do only the map work of some of the rivers of this chapter and just 4 lakes. But there are few terms in this chapter which you must know before I proceed for map work, because these terms you will come across later in class 9 itself and also in class 10. Some of the terms will be used repeatedly. So if you do not follow now, you will never understand when I use these terms while teaching the other chapters or in class 10. So first we will understand some of these points and then we will do the map work of this chapter. So the first term, some of the terms I have already discussed while doing chapter 2. I have drawn the diagrams on the board and I have shown you all, explained in details. So I will use here also the board for discussing some of the terms. Now the first term that I would like to discuss is the term drainage, which is the main topic that you will be studying. So the drainage means the river system of any area. Now in your previous chapter, if you remember, children, while doing the question answers, I have drawn the diagram of a river system, and this river system includes the main river, the tributaries and the distributaries. So the tributaries add water to the main river and joins the main river when it is flowing. But the distributaries take out water from the river. How? Because the river channel gets filled up with the sediments and the water cannot move forward because there is so much of deposition in the river channel, and so it divides into different rivers, small rivers, and these small rivers or the channels are known as distributaries. Now from distribute, the word distributaries has come, so we call them distributaries. So tributaries add water to the main river, distributaries take away water from the main river. Then another very common term that is used is perennial. Perennial means having water throughout the year. Perennial means when the river does not dry up during the dry season. In India, you know, children, most of the months are dry. Like for example, the winter months are dry. Then just after this rainy season, we will be having a season which we call autumn. So that season is also dry. The summer season is also dry. So what happens generally? Many rivers dry up during this dry season because there is no rain to add water to the river, and under such case, children, the river becomes non-perennial. So perennial is the term used for describing the river as having water throughout the year, and non-perennial means they do not have water throughout the year. Then comes another term, that is intensive erosional activity. So erosion, children, is the removal of material. Now what is this material? The materials are the rocks and the boulders that are carried by the river. Generally, what happens when the river is coming down the slope of the mountain, children, or the hills, because of the slope, the river flows very, very fast. It flows at a very rapid speed. And when it is flowing at a very rapid speed, it carries with it whatever pieces of rocks are there, boulders. Boulders are the large sized pieces of rocks, and they carry them down to the plains. So this is known as intensive erosional activities. Okay, children. Now the river systems of our country, that is whatever rivers are there along with their tributaries and distributaries, they are generally put under two categories: the Himalayan river system and the peninsular river system. The Himalayan river system generally are the ones which originate from the Himalayas or the adjacent areas of the Himalayas, and the peninsular rivers are the ones which originate from the peninsular plateau. And there is a huge lot of difference between the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. The Himalayan rivers include rivers like the Indus, the Satluj, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Beas. They all belong to this Indus river system. Then our Ganga river system is also a part of this, our Himalayan rivers. And our Ganga river has several tributaries. Like for example, Yamuna is the most important tributary of the Ganga river, and apart from that there are several tributaries which join this Ganga river from different direction. They come down the Himalayas, like Gandak is there, Kosi is there, which come down the Himalayas and join the river. And there are some rivers which come from the peninsular plateau, like Chambal river, Betwa river, Son river. Son is very close to Patna, children, and you must be hearing the name of Son river. So there are some rivers which come down the peninsular plateau and joins the Ganga river, and there are too many rivers which are coming down the Himalayas and joining this river Ganga. They join at different parts, and then this Ganga river flows, and when it comes very close to Bangladesh border, it starts dividing into channels. And Hooghly river is the first distributary of the Ganga river. Distributary forms when the river starts dividing into branches. And this river which you find in our Kolkata, that is the Hooghly river. This is a channel which has come out from the Ganga river. And of course this Hooghly river also divides into lot of channels together. It forms the huge Sundarban delta along with the other distributaries. After that the Ganga enters into Bangladesh, and when it enters into Bangladesh, its name changes to Padma, and later on in Bangladesh itself it joins with the Brahmaputra river, and they form the largest delta of the world known as Sundarban delta. Now children, the third of the Himalayan river system is the Brahmaputra river. The Brahmaputra river originates not from India, but it originates from a place which is very close to the origin point of river Indus and Satluj. Now one thing to be noted here, children, Indus and Satluj also originates from a place which is known as the Man Sarovar, and the Brahmaputra also originates close to that place. And these three rivers, they continue their onward journey after flowing for a certain distance in China, or you can say previous Tibet. Now, this Zangpo flows eastward, whereas this Indus and the Sutlej river flows westward. Now, this Zangpo is the name given to the Brahmaputra river in China, and it covers a huge distance. And when it comes to the Namcha Barwa peak, you have already done that peak, children, in your previous chapter, and at that Namcha Barwa peak, the Brahmaputra river or the Zangpo river takes a U-shaped bend and enters India. Now, after entering India, children, its name changes into Dihang in Arunachal Pradesh. Here it takes a U-shaped bend and it carries lot of silt and sediments because the Himalayas is made up of soft sedimentary rocks, and the river carries the sediment, huge quantities of sediment, because the sedimentary rocks are very easy to erode. Now, as the river moves forward, it enters Assam. Now, this Arunachal Pradesh is mountainous area. It's a hilly area, and this Arunachal Pradesh, we find that lot of erosion work has been done by this river. When it enters into Assam, it enters the plain area, and in this plain area, the Brahmaputra river starts depositing the sediments that it has eroded in its previous state. So this Brahmaputra river starts depositing the material and it starts forming huge islands. In your chapter 2, children, you have studied that there is this Majuli island, which is the largest island of the world. And you will be surprised, children, that it is so huge that more than 300 people resides here in the dry season. Dry season, as I had said, are the seasons like autumn, spring, summer, winter in the country. So during the dry season, the people are residing there, and in the rainy season, every year this Brahmaputra river is flooded. So before the coming of the rains, children, the people shift to the bank and wait for the dry season to come. And when the dry season comes, the level of water goes down and the people again go back to this island. And this island is very much fertile because they are receiving fresh sediment deposit from the river. Now, children, Brahmaputra river carries huge amount of silt and sediments as well as water. See, children, Ganga is the longest river of India, but the river that carries huge quantities of water in India is Brahmaputra. The reason is that Brahmaputra flows through a region which receives heavy rainfall. So the Brahmaputra has lot of water. Secondly, all the tributaries that join the Brahmaputra also flows in this area. So those tributaries are also receiving a lot of water from the rain. We all know that the northeastern India receives huge amount of rain. And you can also watch in TV that the entire northeastern area gets flooded almost every year. So all this rain water increases the water of the tributaries of river Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra also is receiving so much of water from the rains, and all together increases the volume of water of Brahmaputra. And with this increased volume of water and silt and sediments, Brahmaputra river continues its onward journey into Bangladesh. It leaves India and enters Bangladesh. As soon as it enters Bangladesh, the name changes and the name becomes Jamuna, Jamuna. After flowing for a certain distance, children, this Jamuna river meets the Padma river. So, who is the Padma river? The Padma river is the Ganga river of India. The name of Ganga changes to Padma in Bangladesh. So, this Padma and Jamuna, Jamuna, Padma and Jamuna both together forms the largest delta of the world, and that is the Sundarban delta. And after joining of this Padma and Jamuna, the name changes to Meghna, and after that again there is so many distributaries formed in this part, and the combined water of the Ganges river of India and the Brahmaputra river of India is carried to the Bay of Bengal, forming the largest delta of the world, that is the Sundarban delta. Then we have the rivers of the peninsular plateau. So children, these rivers are mostly non-perennial, that is they dry up in the dry season because rainfall is less first thing. They do not originate from glaciers, so there is no permanent supply of water throughout the year. Now, among the peninsular rivers which are very important, we have two major west flowing peninsular rivers. Among them, one is Narmada, the other one is Tapti. Now, these two rivers, that is Narmada and Tapti, they are the ones, they start from Madhya Pradesh and they continue their westward journey, and roughly they are flowing parallel for some distance, and this Narmada and Tapi do not form any delta, because for delta formation it is necessary, children, that the river flow for a long distance over the plain area. But here there is no such condition that the river is flowing over the plain area, because both of this river flows through a rift. Rift is the valley formed due to faulting. So these rift valleys are formed between the Vindhya and the Satpura, and Narmada flows in between, and also again Satpura and Ajanta and Tapi is flowing there. So this Narmada and Tapi river do not form delta. There is no delta, children, in the western coastal plain. And these two rivers forms a structure which is known as estuary. So when I will be drawing on the board, children, in my next lecture, I will explain the term that how estuary is formed and what is the difference between estuary and delta. So Narmada and Tapi river, they flow starts from Madhya Pradesh and covering the state of Gujarat. Narmada joins the Arabian Sea, whereas Tapi river flows from Madhya Pradesh. Little bit distance, it also flows over Maharashtra, and then it joins Gujarat. It flows over Gujarat and then it joins the Arabian Sea. And coming to the east flowing rivers, children, we have many rivers here. Now these rivers form deltas because a certain distance they flow over the plain. So we have the Mahanadi river, which is a very important river because we have the Hirakud Dam, that is the dam which is having the longest escarpment, you can say. So the longest dam is the Hirakud Dam, which is on this Mahanadi river. This also starts from Chhattisgarh and it flows into Orissa and joins Bay of Bengal. We have the Godavari river next, which is the longest river of our country in the peninsular zone. in the peninsular zone, children. So Godavari is also known as Dakshin Ganga, and it starts from Western Ghats and covers a long distance over the states like Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and of course we have this Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, and it also forms a delta and joins Bay of Bengal. Similarly, the Krishna river is slightly smaller than the Godavari river, and it also covers a long distance, starts from the Western Ghats and again covers a long distance flowing over Maharashtra, then our Karnataka, then Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, and drains into Bay of Bengal. This also forms a delta, and Kaveri is the next major river which is there, and this Kaveri river also starts from the Brahmagiri range, which is a part of this Western Ghats, and it flows eastward, forms a delta and joins Bay of Bengal. So children, I have given you little bit of introduction of all these rivers, major rivers of our country, and in the next class we will again learn few more terms, and after that I will be starting your map work, because without knowing those terms you will find yourself in difficulty when you study later on. So a bit introduction of the rivers, and then we will do some of the terms related to this chapter, and finally we will do the map work. We will conclude the chapter with map work. Thank you children. Please watch the video and try to follow what I have said. Thank you again.